All right. So next we're going to talk about 5 things to avoid when you're selling your house to an investor or a cash buyer. These are really important because if you get any of these wrong, it can really hurt you in the long run. So we're going to cover them to make sure that you're educated and you know what not to do when you go through this process with a cash buyer or an investor. All right. Number 1, infinite inspection period. What's an inspection period? Okay. Remember, if you've watched the 5 steps to close video that we did earlier, it's going to be that inspection period comes after you open escrow, title and escrow. Okay. So you've got a purchase and sale agreement. You agree on a price and a close date and all the stuff, all the terms. Then the house gets inspected. And then the buyer only has a certain amount of time to think about that inspection, not forever. So the bad thing that can happen to you as a seller with an infinite inspection period or one that's not defined is they can basically sit on your house legally under contract for an indefinite amount of time, which really ties you up. Doesn't give you any options, and it doesn't leave you with any control. So make sure that in your agreement there is a very clearly defined inspection period, so you're not just on the hook for however long they want to keep you there. All right, next we've got
non-performing buyers. These guys
Right.
are the guys that bring in low EMD. What's EMD? Earnest money down. Now, just because somebody comes in and says, "I will offer you X for your house," it sounds really good. You're hopeful that they were actually mean it. There's going to be some signs along the way that they may or may not be the actual people buying your house. They may say, "I'm coming in to buy this cash," and maybe they don't have the cash to actually complete the transaction. So they may either be bringing in another investor to purchase that, or they may be using hard money to purchase that. But either way, here's some ways that you can protect yourself to make sure that the contract you're in is more likely to actually close, so you're not left holding the bag at the end of the day. Make sure that your buyer brings in a strong earnest money down. EMD is the money that your buyer puts into with the contract to the title company to say, "I earnestly want to buy this property." In Washington and Idaho and Oregon, usually in a retail purchase, it's around 1% of the purchase price. So if your home is for sale for $250,000, usually around $2,500. If it's a $500,000, usually around $5,000 EMD. Now, there's no rule or law about how much EMD goes down, but if somebody comes in and they put down $50 or $100 of earnest money when the traditional 1% is normal in your state, how earnest are they really? So basically what we're saying there is they're only risking $100 if they were to back out of that contract and not perform on it. So what you want to make sure is your buyer is earnest, is reputable, is able to close on that contract, and a 1% earnest money down helps protect you in that process.
Absolutely. Next up, we have no proof of funds. So if you have someone, you're going the retail route, there's going to be, there's going to be a letter from a bank typically because someone's getting financing. On an investor or a cash buyer, there typically isn't a bank involved. There might be institutional money through like private money or hard money loan, but there needs to be, there's not like a real estate agent involved in the transaction typically. And so there's not going to be someone kind of policing the transaction saying, okay, where's the proof of funds? So you need to be educated as the seller and say, hey, I would like to see that you have the ability to actually perform on this. Can I see a proof of funds letter? If they don't know what that is, big red flag. If they're hesitant to give that to you, big red flag. If they're sketchy and kind of beat around the bush and, oh, no, it's going to be okay. If they kind of try to reason it away and assure you, like placate you, big red flag. So you want to be working with someone who's got, you don't want to be their first purchase. You don't want to be the first person they're doing business with. Check out their website, check out the reviews, see if they actually have testimonials and are good to do business with and have a great reputation. So that's number 3. Number 4.
Yep. Dining table closings.
Worst.
I haven't actually seen one of these, Daniel, but you hear, I guess, rumors, and there's even whole industries that have cropped up to try and protect people from this. But signing a purchase and sale agreement at your home with an investor or a cash buyer is not that unusual. Though at Living Well Properties, we usually just use DocuSign so that there's a paper trail. Mm-hmm. However, if you are being pressured to sign a deed or a transfer of the deed into someone else's name at your dining room table, run, run, run. Call the cops, wave a red flag. The dining table closing or signing to transfer the deed to someone else is never appropriate. Let me say that it's very, very 99.9% of the time not appropriate. The reason why is in a real estate transaction, there's usually the buyer, there's the seller, and there's the title company who acts as Switzerland between you to make sure that the deed can cleanly transfer and to make sure you as the seller get paid. So if someone's pressuring you to sign paperwork that transfers the deed to them at your dining room table, run fast.
And I'll add to that, real estate transactions didn't always used to involve a title and escrow company. That's a whole industry that's popped up in order to protect both sides in that transaction. So someone might come to you and say like, "Oh, you don't need one of those. That's just that's just a new way to get your money." No, it's a way to protect you and to have a bunch of professional eyeballs on your transaction, making sure every I is dotted and T is crossed. So don't give into that. Don't get pressured to, oh, no, it's okay. It's not okay. You want to go through a title company. And then fifth is just a rush closing. I would be very hesitant if someone shows up out of the blue and wants to buy your home for probably a pretty low price really quickly. And then they're pressuring you constantly to sign documents, or they're not giving you enough time to do the necessary due diligence that you're comfortable with, feeling good to move forward. If they're in some kind of undue rush, maybe slow down and ask yourself, is this really somebody I want to do business with? Does their story match up? Do I know all the facts? Is there something I'm not clear of? Is there something I don't know? You can always ask a second opinion. We'd be happy to look over a contract. So we have people do this sometime. They'll have someone who wants to buy their home and they'll say, "Hey, I want a second opinion on this." They'll send it to us and we'll actually go, "Hey, watch out for this, this, and this." So we'd be happy to do that for you as well here at Living Well Props. LivingWellProps.com. You can get a hold of us. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.
See you on the next one.